Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Royal Ramble podcast. I am your host, Zach Stevens, and we are here to, of course, review my favorite pay-per-view of the year, Money in the Bank 2017, out of St. Louis, Missouri, in the Scott Trade Center Arena. As always, guys, you can follow us on Twitter at Ramble_cast. Again, that is Ramble_cast. Please subscribe to our YouTube page down below. That is where you're going to find the highest quality audio of the episodes that we have to offer each week, so definitely check those out. We do shows on Monday and Tuesday, of course, reviewing Raw and SmackDown, and the odd pay-per-view when they do come along. We are also now on Podbean. Go ahead and check us out over there at royalrambleradio.podbean.com. You can download the Podbean app, and you can find us there and listen to us wherever you are on the go. Definitely a great way to check us out if you're in your car or anything like that. So download the Podbean app and search for Royal Ramble Radio. We're also on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/royal-ramble-radio. And if you ever have any questions and you want to have those answered on the air, please send us an email at royalrambleradio@gmail.com. So yeah, man, like I said, we are here to review the Money in the Bank 2017 pay-per-view. This show, man, oh, good God. So there's a lot of things that we got to talk about tonight. This is going to be a pretty packed episode, guys, so I hope you're buckled in. I hope you're ready to go. One match in particular we are going to dive the fuck in on, and that, of course, is going to be that Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which I have a lot of problems with, guys. So just hang tight, because that is the first match that we review tonight. It was the first match on the card, so buckle in and be ready for that one, because I'm about to go in on that motherfucker. But overall, man, I want to say that this show was entertaining. It definitely kept my attention for the most part. I thought there was a lot of great spots in a lot of the matches. I thought there was a lot of great moments in these matches. Overall, I thought it was really entertaining. And, once it was over, I was like, damn, that was 3 hours. So it definitely flew by quick. But the finishes that we got on this pay-per-view were absolutely fucked. And the finishes basically left me feeling super sour right from the get-go on the entire pay-per-view. It took me a while to get over that the finish to that first match, and I'm still not quite over it, guys. So, some of the choices they made tonight got us really riled up as fans. Other matches kind of left us wanting to fall asleep a little bit. There weren't too many of those matches, but there was one in particular that made no sense. But overall, I think the booking on this card was good. I just think there were some bad judgment calls by WWE Creative here, and they're going to have to answer to these problems eventually. So, still, I think it was a decent show. I did say this is my favorite pay-per-view of the year, but unfortunately, it just did not live up to my favorite pay-per-view of the year. So, looking back, when we, go back and look at all the pay-per-views from 2017, I don't think this is going to be in my top 5 at all. So, and a big reason for that is going to be this Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. It definitely made sure that this pay-per-view was not going to be my favorite. So, obviously, as always, like we do here on the Royal Ramble podcast, we have some questions as we head into tonight's episode. Number one, the first question I wrote down was, how is Lana going to look? Obviously, she's getting her first ever singles match on a pay-per-view. She's going against Naomi for the title. They announced on the pre-show that we'd be getting that Women's Money in the Bank ladder match first, so technically we could see a cash-in tonight. If Lana wins, maybe whoever wins will come and cash it in, or, whatever happens, there could be a potential cash-in tonight. Speaking of that Women's Money in the Bank match, are these girls going to really try and outdo the men? Are they going to try and one-up them and really, make this match an important part of history like the build has been suggesting that it will be? Obviously they've been showing all these highlight packages and really making us feel like, oh man, this is history for the women. They're getting their first ever Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. This is something that will continue to go on for as long as the Money in the Bank pay-per-view exists. It's not like they're going to stop doing these women's matches. This is going to happen continually until they stop doing the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So this technically is history, right? Who is going to win that first ever Women's Money in the Bank briefcase? Who will it be? Well, you're about to find out. So, obviously, who is going to win these briefcases is the big question heading into this pay-per-view, as it is every single year. My original prediction is, if you listen to last week's episode, our review of SmackDown, we went through the Money in the Bank card, and I basically said that I thought Corbin and Carmella were going to win the Money in the Bank briefcases for the men and women respectively. But as always, man, this pay-per-view can always bring some surprises, man. Maybe they'll go against the grain. Maybe they'll go against what everyone thinks, and they'll let Sami Zayn win, or they'll let Nakamura win, or something like that. So there was potential tonight for some surprises. So we'll see what happens when we get to the review. And then obviously the last question I had for tonight was, can Jinder retain tonight? And more importantly, will Randy actually get a win in his hometown? So that was one big question. Maybe the curse had finally been broken by Rich Swann, so maybe Randy Orton could actually get a win in St. Louis, which is his hometown. But we all know how that's going to go. So anyway, man, let's head into the pre-show. There's a lot to go over in this card, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this pre-show. It was pretty lame, let's just be honest. There was really nothing of note here. We had a backstage Twitter interview with the Usos where they really got to show up their heel personas a lot more, but nothing really else to note on this pre-show. Naomi was on the announce desk with Renee and Sam Roberts and Booker T, and they did a little interview where Booker T was kind of just like bashing down on Naomi and really not believing in her, so not really sure what that was all about. But anyway, we did get a pre-show match, and if you go back and listen to our SmackDown review, I originally thought this was going to be Breezango versus the Clones. So my prediction right off the bat was wrong because they were not on the pre-show. Instead, we got the Hype Bros versus the Clones. Now, obviously, Zack Ryder making his return on SmackDown last week, telling Mojo they have some unfinished business to do. My prediction is that Zack Ryder is eventually going to turn on Mojo, but there was no teases of that here tonight. They had this match. The Hype Bros won. I'm not going to go into a huge breakdown of this match, mainly just because it was meaningless. But the main thing to note here is that there was no tease of a turn yet. It was basically just a match. They focused a lot on the injured knee of Ryder, which obviously he's coming off that surgically repaired knee, so the Clones were really attacking it for the most part in this match. But yeah, man, like I said, no tease of a turn by Ryder or Mojo, and I'm sure they're saving that for SmackDown, but it's important to note there was no tease of that at all tonight. So yeah, man, we start this Money in the Bank pay-per-view with the 5-woman ladder match for the Money in the Bank briefcase, the first ever in its history for the women. Big deal for them. Highly anticipated match from all the fans. A lot of controversy heading in as people question exactly what these women are going to do in order to make history. They're showing a lot of these really cool highlight packages showing how the women's belt has evolved over the years, going from the women's title to the Divas title and then back to the women's title, and really playing up that this is going to be a very important mark in history for the women. This is the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. This is not something that they've ever done before, so whoever wins this is going to be shown on covers of magazines. This is something that will be talked about forever, all of that. So they are really playing this up as a big, big deal, okay? But the question still remains, will these women be able to deliver? Will they be able to bring in a match that they've never done before, no other ladder matches for these women? Will they be able to perform in that type of environment? And will they be able to give us a match that really lives up to the build that the WWE is trying to do here? So we go into the intros, man. Huge reaction for Charlotte and Becky. As Tamina comes out, the crowd is pretty much dead silent. I immediately note that things are going to be really awkward if she wins. Carmella gets her biggest reaction of her life. Obviously, when she comes out on SmackDown, you hear nothing but crickets. Tonight was a little bit different. She got a little bit bigger reaction, but even then, it really wasn't that loud, but definitely noticeably louder than her SmackDown appearances. Natty does come out last, which I usually mark these things down because I think it's important how they book the entrances. I usually put a lot of emphasis on whoever comes out last, and in this case, it was Natty. So I was thinking, man, maybe Natty will actually get this tonight. But she did have a decent reaction. Obviously, not on the same level as Charlotte or Becky, but definitely a decent reaction for her. Like I said, then they go to that epic video package, kind of showing the history of the women's title. Really building up the importance that this match is history making, okay? And think about it, man. If you're in the crowd at, in St. Louis, Missouri, you're sitting there and you're going, damn, man, I get to see the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. This isn't going to stop. They're going to keep doing these forever until the Money in the Bank pay-per-view is done with, okay? So you're seeing the first ever. That's got to be really cool, right? So obviously the WWE is really hyping this up to be historic. No pressure or anything for the women, but the video package was really cool. But yeah, man, they're really building this up to be something historic, okay? So they really have a huge task in front of them as far as really, paying off to that build. So yeah, man, all 5 women are in the ring. They all start by staring up at the briefcase hanging above them, and then immediately they all head to the outside for ladders, but Tamina stays in the ring. And then as everyone tries to bring in a ladder from their respective sides, she basically just continues to destroy anyone who tries to come in the ring, defending them off with ladders and kicks. Charlotte eventually gets into the ring, and then she starts kicking everyone, including Tamina. We start getting some really loud Becky chants, which is good to see. Good for her to finally get some love that she deserves. Tamina starts super kicking everyone pretty unconvincingly, and then she sets up the ladder in the corner. She then grabs Natty's leg, falls back, and slams Natalya's face into the ladder, which was a crazy spot. Tamina really started off pretty much really hot here. She was showing some serious dominance, almost reminiscent of Nia Jax, kind of, really trying to play up her big badass heel role that she is on SmackDown now. So, I thought that was an interesting booking decision to make her look really powerful here. So she definitely was showing off some serious dominance. Becky then has a ladder thrown on top of her in the corner, and she's just basically paralyzed in the corner. She doesn't move for like a minute straight, which was really weird. She's basically just underneath this ladder, standing up in the corner, hiding behind it. Then, out of nowhere, Tamina comes back into the ring, and then Becky throws that ladder onto her, basically out of nowhere. Then there's this weird tug of war between Natty and Becky, between a ladder that goes on for way too long. Eventually, Becky drives the ladder into Natalya, but Natalya gets up and slams Becky into the ladder. Natty sets up a ladder and heats up, and then she gets up to the top, and then Charlotte interrupts. Charlotte puts Natty on her shoulders, then does an electric chair drop, which was really cool. Then Charlotte runs up to the top of the ladder, taking advantage of that big move. Carmella then comes into the ring and stops Charlotte before she's able to get to the top. Then Charlotte falls, and she has this really nasty looking fall, man. It almost looks like she racks herself on one of the steps. Pretty bad looking stuff here, but Carmella is able to get to the top, and then Charlotte gets back up to the top and meets her there. They share shots back and forth until Tamina comes in and ruins the fun by pushing the ladder down, and they both go spilling out. Eventually, Natty is setting up a ladder, but instead, she decides to stop after setting this ladder up. Becky comes into the ring, and she just puts her in the sharpshooter. It's not really a viable option to put someone in a submission in a Money in the Bank ladder match. Obviously, you're not going to win by submission here, so it was kind of weird to see that move in this match out of nowhere. Not really sure if that was intended, but it kind of made no sense. Then there was a crazy spot where Becky is standing on the ladder in the corner, and Carmella comes up, flips over, grabs Becky by her head using her feet, and then flips her over down onto the mat. Definitely a nice move out of Carmella for once. Obviously she doesn't really get much attention. She doesn't really have much of a great offense, so this was a nice spot out of Carmella for once. Carmella then starts to climb up, but then Charlotte pulls her down and hits her with the big boot. Charlotte and Tamina have a quick exchange on the ladder at the top. Then they both fall nastily to the mat. This looked pretty bad. Charlotte tackles Tamina to the outside, then tackles her again into the steps. She then heads to the top post, and this ends up being the big spot. Now, originally, I was thinking we'd get a moonsault off the top of the ladder, or these women would do something fucking insane and almost kill themselves in this match, because obviously, it's this big historic match, and they want to, put on a show for everyone and really outdo the men tonight. I thought that we were going to get some big, crazy stuff, but this right here ended up being the big spot of the match. So Charlotte's at the top of the post, and she does like this 180 front flip, and grabs both Natty and Tamina as she hits the ground and hits DDTs on both of them at the same time. Really badass move. It was a little bit sloppy, but it was still badass, and it was definitely the biggest spot in this match for sure. Becky then delivers a nice powerbomb to Carmella, and then this is where things get fucky. They tease Becky winning the briefcase here. She's heading up the ladder. Everyone's like, oh shit, Becky's going to win it. We start getting Becky chants. Everyone's getting really excited. And then guess who? Just take a fucking guess. Who is there to stop Becky? Obviously, Charlotte, Tamina, and Natalya are both spilled out on the outside from that big move that Charlotte just hit. And Becky's on the ladder. She just took out Carmella, so it's Becky and James fucking Ellsworth. That's who comes in and ruins this entire fucking thing. Boos erupt in this St. Louis crowd. I'm about to puke. Ellsworth is trying to get Carmella to the ladder, so he basically spills Becky off. He picks up the ladder, tosses her off, and he tries to wake up Carmella. He's like, hey, wake up. You got to get to the top of the ladder. You got to get up. He realizes that she's completely indisposed. He looks up to the briefcase and has the light bulb go off in his head. He basically says, oh shit, what if I go to the top and grab it? So, guess what happens? He decides to climb the ladder. Yes, obviously you see where this is going. James Ellsworth gets to the top, unbuckles the briefcase, and James Ellsworth is the winner of the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. He then tosses the briefcase down to Carmella, who's at the bottom of the ladder. She catches it, starts crying. Obviously, the bell rings. The crowd is in complete shock, cannot believe this is happening. You know, everyone's saying, no, no, no. The refs are arguing on the outside about, but James Ellsworth isn't legal. He can't win this match. Eventually, Ellsworth just grabs a mic and says Carmella is the Money in the Bank winner, and that's that. So Carmella is the women's Money in the Bank ladder match winner, but she did it through James Ellsworth. Now, this is what I wanted to go in on, and this is what I'm about to go off with. First of all, the whole build behind this match was the fact that it's going to be this big historic moment for the women, okay? This is something that we're going to be able to look back on in history and go, damn, that was such a great match. I can't believe, Carmella or Charlotte or whoever won it. It's going to be a big deal, right? It's something that the WWE can go back and show highlights of and really show that, the women had this legendary, historic, groundbreaking match. But how do they book the fucking ending? They leave it with James fucking Ellsworth, a man, winning the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, the first ever of its kind. That is so stupid. Look, I totally get why they do it, right? It's completely cheap heat, right? But if you take a look online, people are completely divided about this. Some people understand, hey, I understand why they did it. They got to get people upset. They got to get some heat over to Carmella and James Ellsworth because as of right now, when they come out, it's fucking crickets. So that, I understand that side of it, okay? The fact is, though, when you build it up to be this big, historic, legendary match, and you have James fucking Ellsworth, who, by the way, is completely horrible and should not be on our TV anymore. I don't understand why he's still there. He needs to go back and keep smoking meth wherever the fuck he came from. Just go back, dude. No one wants to see you anymore. He's horrible. But that is besides the point, though. The fact that they have a man winning the women's Money in the Bank ladder match is a complete disgrace, guys. I mean, let's be real about this. They want to pretend like they're all about, oh, the women have progressed. They aren't divas anymore. This isn't the Attitude Era. And then they do shit like this, where they just cannot have a match, an important women's match, without a man interfering. Let's take a look back now. Let's look at the, you remember whenever the women's title was reintroduced at WrestleMania and they're going to have this new belt and they had that amazing triple threat match between Becky, Sasha, and Charlotte? Guess who had to interfere in that match, that legendary history match? Guess who had to do it? Ric Flair. So again, a man interfering in the women's match. One of the most important women's matches of all time at that point. They have to have a man put his fingers in it and fuck with it, right? Same thing here. They have to have a man do something in order to interfere and win this women's match. Why couldn't Carmella just get to the fucking ladder by herself? Why couldn't James Ellsworth put her on his shoulders and carry her up there? She could have been the one to take down the briefcase. I understand that James Ellsworth was probably going to get involved in this match. I mean, everyone saw that coming, right? But I didn't think they were actually going to have James Ellsworth be the one to take the briefcase down and win it for her. That's absolutely ridiculous. So when you go back and you're looking for highlights from this match, from the WWE standpoint, all you're going to see is James Ellsworth at the top of that ladder, not a woman, which is fucking horrible. Carmella is completely fucking useless, and you're telling me that she couldn't just climb the ladder and grab the briefcase herself? She's been going nowhere since she came to SmackDown, and she can't do this one simple thing by herself. She has to have help from a fucking man? Hello? It's ridiculous, dude. It's fucking ridiculous. I cannot believe that they did this. To have a man be the one to win the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match is a complete disgrace. It's atrocious. I just cannot believe it, man. Completely ruining history. All this build up with these highlight packages of, showing how the belt has evolved from the women's title to the Divas title to back to the women's title, and showing Mae Young and all these really prominent women in history, Lita and Trish and all these girls who really helped elevate this division to be where it is today. All this build towards being this awesome historic match, and what do? You have a man win it. It's just fucking ridiculous, guys. And, you can say, oh, you're being a social justice warrior, you're getting worked, bro. Fuck all that, dude. James Ellsworth is horrible. The fact that he is even touching that briefcase is a disgrace to the WWE. He should not be on TV. He should not have interfered in this match. And he should not be anywhere near this women's division. Because right now, as it is, this women's division has some issues, guys. You can look at it and you can say, okay, they're definitely better than the Attitude Era. Yes, of course they are. The fact remains, though, that they still have some work to do as far as building this women's division up and getting people interested. And the fact that they can't just let the women be on their own and do their own thing without having James fucking Ellsworth have to interfere all the time is just a joke, man. And all it does is regress them. It doesn't progress them at all. It regresses them. It takes them back. And that is not what you want to do if you're a WWE creative right now. You want to let these women speak for themselves. And if you're sitting there watching it, let's say you're watching it with your significant other, your girlfriend, or maybe your sister or somebody, right? And they're watching this and they're, looking at these highlight packages and hearing the commentators talk about how epic and how historic this match is going to be. And then they see James Ellsworth interfere and take the women's briefcase. All that's going to do is make you think, wow, WWE hasn't changed at all. They're still the same fucking, useless garbage that they've always been. Always have to have a man interfere with the women's stuff and never let them speak for themselves. If you're a serious women's fan, maybe even you're a woman yourself, and you pride yourself on seeing this progression that these women have made over the years, going from divas to superstars and all that shit. And now you get your first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and you're thinking, man, this is going to be awesome. We're going to see that, amazing, iconic imagery of one of the women going up to the briefcase and holding it up there and, really being filled with real emotion here. But no, it's James fucking Ellsworth who gets to the top, gets the fucking briefcase, and completely ruins this entire pay-per-view for everyone. This left me completely soured on the rest of the show, man. Like I said, I knew James Ellsworth was probably going to get involved. I just did not think he was going to be the one taking down that briefcase because, man, look, I get it. I get that they want to get that heat transferred, the heat that I'm feeling right now. They want to get it transferred over to Carmella and Ellsworth. But here's the thing. I'm not heated with them. I'm not going to be booing them. I'm booing WWE Creative. I'm mad at the backstage decisions. I'm not mad at Carmella and Ellsworth for this. I'm mad because they actually fucking did this. What in the fuck are they thinking? At the end of this, I was completely in shock. This match was actually really good. These women were starting off hot. We were getting "this is awesome" chants. This was going to be a good match. And then they threw it away by having James Ellsworth win. It's just a complete wow moment for me, man. Just fucking wow. I cannot believe this is what they did. I'm completely appalled by it. And it's just, I don't agree with it whatsoever. I get it. I understand why it happened, so you don't need to come at me and tell me, oh, dude, you're getting worked, bro, blah, blah, blah. No, dude. James Ellsworth is fucking horrible. I think everyone can agree with that, right? He's fucking horrible. We don't want to see him on TV anymore. And what is he doing? He's mucking about in our first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match and completely ruining history here. So thanks a lot, WWE. Thank you, Vince McMahon. Thank you for always having a man have to interfere in the women's matches. Fuck you, bitch. Anyway, all right. So I got that out of my system, guys. It's just completely atrocious, man. I just don't. It makes me sick, guys. It's horrible. I cannot believe that they did that. It's just bad booking, horrible ending, completely soured this pay-per-view right from the get-go. They could have really had this be an epic start to this match. Maybe Becky wins it. She's been getting beat down all week on SmackDown for months now. You could have had her, go up there and win it, right? Hell, you could have had Carmella go up there and win it and actually do something for once in her pathetic career. But no, instead what happens? James fucking Ellsworth has to interfere, and we got to have a man mucking up the women's division yet again. So, there you go. They end up showing a tweet from Shane and Daniel Bryan saying that this is the first thing that they will address on SmackDown Live this Tuesday. Obviously, Daniel Bryan is coming back to SmackDown. Thank God. We'll finally get some good Talking Smack segments now. There's a lot of people speculating that they might redo this match on TV. Now, obviously, the ratings for both SmackDown and Raw have been abysmal. They've been absolutely horrible. So maybe redoing this ladder match on TV might help the ratings. But even if so, man, that's even more fucking stupid than the original ending that they just did. Because if you're going to do you should have just done the intended finish the first time on the pay-per-view called Money in the Bank, you know? The place where the Money in the Bank case is supposed to be won. You could have just done the original match there. You don't need to do it on TV or redo it. So I'm really hoping that they don't do that tonight, or on Tuesday, I should say. But if they did, it would not surprise me at all. And if they, corrected this, I guess that's okay. But the fact still remains that they aren't going to have that iconic imagery of one of their women, one of the women they've been building up and really trying to promote as being awesome in the ring. They aren't going to have that at the top of the ladder grabbing the briefcase. It's just horrible, man. Just completely horrible. This match was going to be good. It was looking promising, and James Ellsworth just took a shit all over it. So that's that, man. Anyway, we head backstage. We have an interview with Lana. She's asked about competing against Naomi, but then interrupts Dasha, which, by the way, man, Dasha is also horrible. She's getting towards James Ellsworth levels here. She cannot get through her simple interview segments without fucking it up, so really not sure why she's on there. Would have much rather preferred Renee in this spot. Lana says that the women's Money in the Bank match, all the competitors in that match were lucky that she wasn't in that match just now, because things would have been way different. And unfortunately, they probably actually would have been even worse, because as we're about to find out with this Lana match, she did not live up to my expectations, but we'll get there when we get there. Lana says when she goes on to shock the world tonight and shut up her doubters, and will go on to become the first ever Ravishing Women's SmackDown champion. Lana is bringing the fire tonight in her promo. She's obviously, trying to get people to believe that she is going to shock the world and beat Naomi. Hopefully she can come out and redeem that awful ending to that last women's match, because honestly, that was all that was on my mind at this point. Fuck James Ellsworth. Alright, man, so we head into match number 2. That's going to be New Day versus the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. New Day come out to a huge reaction. Kofi says it's going to be a historic night. Xavier says that the Usos like to call it the Uso Penitentiary, but tonight it will be a playpen. Big E goes on to say some shit about some sandwiches, and then Xavier makes a dropping the soap reference. Kofi then tells everyone to prepare themselves for new World Tag Team Champions. Then the Usos come out, looking badass as always. Then the match starts, man, and we got Kofi and Jimmy starting off. Now, this match was actually pretty good, but like I said in the beginning of the show, man, a lot of these matches were good, and then the endings were fucking flat and shitty. So what do you expect from this but another shitty ending? They immediately set up various holds on the mat, Kofi flipping in and out of the holds, and then he grabs Jimmy into a neck lock. Jay is then tagged in, and he takes control. He slams Kofi to the ground, but Kofi quickly takes out the legs of Jimmy. He then tags in Big E, who delivers a body slam to Jay on the apron. Kofi is eventually tagged back in, and then he starts to go to work. There's this huge spot where Kofi bounces off the ropes and goes across the ring, but Jay is on the outside, and he pulls the rope down, and Kofi goes flying over the top rope, basically does a huge front flip, looks like it hurts. You can hear him you can just hear the thud as he hits the ground. Sounded really bad. Then Jimmy clotheslines Kofi to the outside of the ring. There's a spot where both the Usos suplex Kofi into the light post on the ring, the light up post that they have. They basically pick him up and they suplex him into it, which was pretty crazy. Kofi's obviously really struggling here, trying to get that hot tag to Big E, but he can't. The Usos hit a move similar to the New Day's new move, that up, up, down, down. But instead of doing a missile drop kick, Jimmy comes down from the top and he uses an elbow instead. So I'm not really sure if they were, teasing the up, up, down, down, kind of doing their opponent's move on them, but it was a little bit different. It had a variation to it. So Usos start asking Kofi if he thought this was a game, telling him he's in the wrong part of town, really just beating the shit out of Kofi. He's then dragged by his hair to the outside, which looked pretty nasty. The Usos are in control for a very long time here until Kofi is able to stomp on Jay out of nowhere, basically. He's on the ground, he jumps up, and he just drop kicks him, basically. And then Jimmy hits the mat. Kofi's finally able to get the tag to Big E, who then hits a trio of belly-to-belly suplexes onto Jimmy. Jimmy gets Big E into the corner, but Big E catches him mid-air and throws Jimmy to the mat. Big E goes for the big ending, but no dice. He sends Jimmy to the apron. Then Big E tackles Jimmy through the middle rope. Basically a serious suicide dive here. Super crazy move. He basically runs from one end of the ring through the middle rope and tackles Jimmy as he's standing on the apron, and they both just go flying to the outside of the mat. Really big spot there. Kofi gets the tag, goes for Trouble in Paradise, but misses. The Usos chop out the leg of Kofi, and then drop kick his left leg, then put his left leg into a hold. So obviously they really start focusing on Kofi's left leg. That really became the main story in this match was the Usos attacking the left leg of Kofi Kingston. Kofi then reaches for the rope while Jimmy Uso suicide dives Big E on the outside, but Big E is able to catch him and belly-to-bellies him to the outside. Then Jimmy goes for a submission on Kofi, but he reverses it into his own submission, basically a headlock with Jimmy's knee bent on the mat. Really cool transition here from Kofi. Kofi then hits the SOS, which, by the way, is one of my favorite moves. Looks so good every time he pulls it off. Kingston eventually hits the super kick. He eats the super kick from Jay, and then Jay heads to the top rope. There might have been a botch here, actually, because as Jay heads to the top rope and he's coming down, it looks like Big E is supposed to catch him and maybe hit him with a suplex, but it looks like he might have dropped him here, so he's trying to catch Jay or Jimmy, whoever it was, and he drops him, but he just picks him back up instead and eventually recovers, and he hits the big ending. Super close near fall here. I thought for sure this was a 3 count. If you go back and watch, the ref definitely hits the mat 3 times, but Jay does come in and break it up. So very close here. The crowd definitely thought this was the ending, but it was not. The New Day then set up for the Midnight Hour, and they hit it after an impressive jump from Kofi to the outside. As they go for the pin from the Midnight Hour, Jay then pulls Jimmy outside to save him, so they're about to get the near fall again, but Jay is able to pull him out. Then the Usos basically just say fuck it, and this is where the shitty ending comes into play. They hear the ref counting, they don't give a fuck, they head to the timekeeper's area, they take their belts back, the ref gets to 10, they lose, but they walk away with the belts still. So obviously they decide that they don't want any more part of the New Day, they're just going to leave and take their belts. So, my thoughts on this match, fucking horrible ending, absolutely hate that. That's a cop-out, man. Just give us an ending. You could have had the Usos win dirty here if you really didn't want the New Day to lose clean. You could have come up with something a little bit better than this. I do think that this fits into the Usos persona, them being really shitty, gangster-like heels. If they thought they were going to lose, they probably would just bail and, not risk it, which is exactly what they did. But that doesn't mean that I still can't hate this ending, because this match was actually really good, man. These two tag teams, like I said, going into this, I thought this could have been one of the best matches on the show. And it was, man. This match was really good. Lots of really big spots here. Obviously, there were a few botches, but, that's besides the point. This was still a good match. It was a good tag team match, and that is something that we've really been missing lately on SmackDown. So it really showed that, the New Day can really hold their own against the Usos. They really showed that they were actually about to win these belts, but the way they end this match is just a really huge disappointment for me. It wouldn't surprise me if all these finishes basically suck the crowd out of it after a while, just because these stupid endings are, if you're in the crowd and you're watching this go down, you're trying to get excited about everything, but each time you're getting excited, WWE Creative pulls the rug out from underneath you and you're left with nothing. So this was a shitty ending. There was a ton of believable near falls from the New Day, so they're obviously playing into the idea that the New Day are really close to getting those belts from the Usos, but they're obviously going to spread out this feud a lot more, which I figured would happen. It's just, this ending was just shitty, and it goes into the whole idea of tonight's show of, good spots, decent matches, horrible fucking endings. So we head into our third match for tonight, and that is going to be Naomi versus Lana. Obviously, my pre-match thoughts here, man. I've been hyping up this match all week on the show. I'm really thinking Lana is going to be able to surprise us all with her in-ring ability. I have read notes about Lana at house shows being pretty disappointing, but I'm really hoping tonight that she can come out and have a coming-out party and really show that she is going to be a prominent part in this women's division. Keeping her off last week's SmackDown was worrying to me. I didn't know if it was intentional in order to hide her flaws or if it was just to build up more excitement for this match so that we get to see a fresh face in the ring on a pay-per-view. So if Lana does get the win here, it would technically be seen as one of the biggest upsets of all time, considering she has never had a singles match. And you got to remember here, Naomi is the one who begged Shane for this match to be a title match when he originally said that he wanted Lana to prove herself. Naomi came in there and said, no, I want to put my title on the line. So it would make sense if she lost it here, being super, heated about Lana interrupting her and talking shit to her. So it would make sense if she lost it here because it would be by her own fault. But we'll see what happens here. So the match starts. Lana starts by dancing. Naomi punishes her for that immediately. Basically, you don't start off your first match by dancing. Naomi just comes in there and clocks her cold. She throws Lana into the corner, starts striking her. Lana eventually comes back by striking Naomi in the face, throwing her to the mat by the hair. Naomi kicks Lana and knocks her down, then slaps her as she slides in from her knees. Lana is driven into the post, and then Naomi heads to the top rope. Lana dodges Naomi's attempt and then attacks Naomi, sending her to the outside with a kick to the face. Lana goes for a pin, but no dice. Lana really not doing anything impressive here. Super disappointing so far, but she does look great at least, man. Her in-ring outfit is... It looks good, man. She's a beautiful woman, so obviously she's looking good. She wasn't horrible in this match, but there were some spots in here where it did not look very good. Lana eventually delivers a nice suplex to Naomi into the bottom rope. She does it again to Naomi. This was kind of her big moment. She was just doing these suplexes where Naomi's legs would end up hitting the rope as she was slammed down. Lana sets up Naomi's leg on the bottom rope, pulling it underneath, obviously really working over Naomi's leg at this point. She then sets her face up onto the middle rope and delivers a bat kick to Naomi. Lana goes for a pin, but Naomi kicks out in two. Lana is on the mat working Naomi's leg again, and then Naomi is able to get Lana's arm into an armbar in the mat, but has to let it go due to the pain from her leg. So, like I said, man, really working over that leg. That was a big deal in this match. Naomi gets Lana to the middle of the ring and delivering her signature kicks, her high kicks that she always does. Lana then kicks out Naomi's leg, then bounces off the rope and then gets hit with a rear view. Naomi is really selling the leg here, obviously hobbling around, just unable to stand on that leg completely. Lana then rolls out to the outside. She's starting to really struggle here at the end, just from a match standpoint. Lana hits Naomi with the sit-down spinebuster that she hit on SmackDown Live last week, which I'm guessing is her finisher, but Naomi kicks out. Then, guess what? We hear Carmella's music. Everyone's singing, oh shit, here's the cash-in. So Carmella and shitty James fucking Ellsworth, they both head to the ring. Lana is standing there looking dumbfounded. Carmella then heads to the timekeeper's area. She teases a cash-in, but decides against it. Lana then continues attacking Naomi. She goes for a pin, but Naomi kicks out. Lana starts staring down Carmella on the outside. Naomi then reverses Lana's finisher into a submission, and then Lana taps out. So Naomi does win by submission here. Carmella then stands on the outside of the ring, holding up the case, still teasing a cash-in, but never does, in fact, give it to the ref. So that is how it ends. We end with a tease of a cash-in from Carmella, and Lana gets tapped out. My thoughts here, Lana had some okay spots, but yeah, man, she was pretty rough in general. But I will say there was a very tough spot for her to be in, man. She has a lot of potential. I think it's going to take time, and I think that she did show her potential in this match. Me personally, I probably got my hopes too high, thinking she was going to come out and, really impress everybody and shock the world, like she would say. I'm glad that in the end, didn't do the title switch or the cash-in tonight. I think Carmella does need that briefcase to actually become a real character, because at this point she is fucking a waste of space. So she needs that briefcase in order to actually build up some momentum and actually be a prominent part of the show. Fuck James fucking Ellsworth. Fuck him. I hope he's never on TV again. Carmella needs to drop him immediately now that she has a briefcase. But overall, man, this match was sloppy, and it was primarily because of Lana. Naomi basically carried this match for the most part. Lana did get in a couple of good moves. It looks like a lot of her offense is based off suplexes, which I do like that. I mean, it shows that she has the strength to do it. But I will have to say, man, the crowd really wasn't into this match until Carmella came out and teased that cash-in. But even then, I just can't help but feel like the crowd is just mentally drained at this point after these past three matches being kind of disappointing. I mean, first you start with James Ellsworth winning the Women's Money in the Bank match, which is highly controversial and completely shitty. And then you have the shitty finish with the Usos just leaving the ring and not finishing the match. And now you have Carmella teasing a cash-in, not doing it, and Lana just in general kind of sucking in the ring. So not the best debut for Lana, but definitely I think she did show her potential here, and I'm excited to see her going forward. I do think she has a lot of work ahead of her. I think that she's going to have to really improve in the ring, and especially with her selling. She also needs to stop screaming so much. There was a point in this match where every time she would go for a move, she would just scream, and that has got to stop. She needs to stop doing that. So hopefully they can get those little things corrected, and hopefully she can really, start working matches a lot better. Alright, so next up we actually have a Fashion Files on a pay-per-view. Oh my god, definitely did not see this coming. Originally I was a little worried that Breezango and them weren't going to have a spot on this show, especially after the pre-show match, I guess, got changed to the Hype Bros at the last second. But they do have a Fashion Files on this show, and it's done in a Vice City 80s style theme. It's called Fashion Vice. As always, man, it's really hard for me to do these segments justice. You just have to go back and check it out yourself. Hopefully they post this one onto YouTube, even though it was on a pay-per-view. I'll always recommend a Fashion Files segment, even if it's not great. And, this one was funny. It definitely had, those background kind of Easter eggs, and it did have some comedy to it. But this was more to answer questions and really set us up for what was to come. So Fandango's on the phone, and he's using one of those old, huge brick phones, and on the side of it says property of Paul H., which is Paul Heyman's old phone. They're basically on the phone talking about forensics, trying to figure out who attacked Breeze last week from that stick figure drawing that Fandango did. Breeze hears the fax machine go off, and he starts freaking out. They're told to open the door from the fax, and that's where they find a tape. They put in the tape, and it shows two shadowy figures with their voices distorted, saying that they are the ones that attacked Breezango. And if they want to know who they are, meet them in the ring tonight. So wow, man, at this point I'm thinking, holy shit, Fashion Files is getting a match tonight out of nowhere. Fuck yeah, that's a nice surprise. They end the segment unknowingly reciting lines from Michael Jackson, which was pretty funny. But my thoughts on this overall is that, I think it's very cool that they were going from not being on this show at all to actually getting a match and maybe giving us some answers to a storyline. Unlike Raw, where they're dragging out these teases of Enzo and Corey and Kurt, we're actually going to get an actual answer for once. So me personally at this point, I'm like, damn, I'm hyped for this. I want to see what happens. But we'll talk about that when we get there. It ends up being pretty much a big wet fart, man. This was not very good. Anyway, man, next we're going to go into what I call the what is happening segment, which seems to always happen. And we hear this weird 80s music, man. The room goes to black. There's hearts all over the Titantron. And then out come Maria Kanellis and Mike Kanellis. Their names pop up on the Jumbotron, and they head out to the top of the ramp. Maria Kanellis says that the First Lady of WWE is back, and they are here to educate everyone on SmackDown Live the power of love. Huge what chants during this segment. I feel like everyone in this crowd was asking who the fuck these people are. Me personally, dude, I have no idea who these people are. This is before my time watching WWE. I'm guessing Maria Kanellis was a popular women's wrestler. I'm not sure who the guy is. I have no fucking clue. They're obviously doing the whole obnoxious lovey-dovey, couple gimmick here, where we're supposed to basically be sick of them because they shoved their whole love angle down our throats. But honestly, man, what the fuck was this, man? At this point, I'm thinking, oh god, this pay-per-view is heading down the toilet. We got shitty finishes, we got bad wrestling in the ring, we got a bunch of cool spots, but all the endings are fucked. And now we have this awkward, out-of-nowhere tease for this new couple, I guess. It seems like they're trying to be Miz and Maurice, but they're just not as good. And I don't think that they're going to be very over, but we will see. So, obviously, this was an introduction to two new characters that we're going to get on SmackDown Live with Maria and Mike Kanellis. We'll see what happens, man, but overall, as this segment was happening, me and I think everyone else that was watching this was saying, what the fuck is this? Get off my TV. So, we'll see what happens as they go into SmackDown, but overall, man, this segment felt out of place. Match number 4, man, we're going to head into it. It is the WWE Championship match between the hometown boy, Randy Orton, and the current champion, Jinder Mahal. So, pre-show thoughts, or pre-match thoughts, I should say. I'm glad that they didn't save this match for the end. I was worried that they were going to put the WWE Championship match as the main event tonight, but personally, I believe that the Money in the Bank ladder match between the men deserved to be in the end. So, obviously, with them not doing that, this means that there will be no cash-in tonight, which I also really like, because I like when they use the briefcase as a story instead of a one-off thing like they did with Ambrose last year. They're obviously in Randy Orton's hometown. We've been saying that all week, and no one wins in their hometown, and I don't envision that happening tonight either. I don't think Randy is winning here, and spoiler alert, he doesn't. I do wonder what they're going to do with Bob Orton and Sergeant Slaughter and all the other legends that they have on the outside of the ring. They did this whole introduction where they go down the line of all of them and introduce them to the crowd. I'm sure that they're going to get involved somehow. Otherwise, they would not have put them out there. And typically, I usually hate when they get older guys involved in current matches. It just doesn't work for me most of the time. So I was really hoping that they didn't do that. They did do something like that tonight, which I did actually like in the end, but normally when they do this, I'm not that into it. But they did do something a little bit right here, but we'll get into it now. So the match starts, man. We have huge boos for Jinder as the Singh brothers introduce him. Massive heat here. Obviously, St. Louis is going to be 100% behind Randy Orton here, so they're going to be 100% against Jinder Mahal. So, and as if this crowd hasn't taken enough abuse tonight, looking at all these previous matches and all these segments that we have previously, and now they're about to see their boy Randy Orton get beat by Jinder fucking Mahal again. This crowd took a fucking beating, so props to everyone in St. Louis, and I'm sorry you guys had to sit through a majority of this. I will say this, though. I usually question the way that WWE books the hometown wrestler always losing in their hometown. But, as Jinder's coming out and I hear the boos that he's getting, I think this actually worked for me. Mainly because it's different when you have, it's different when you have Bayley lose in her hometown as she's supposed to be your upcoming baby face and you have her lose in her hometown for no fucking reason. It's a lot different when you have Jinder, who's this big badass heel, coming into the hometown of St. Louis where, everyone that's watching is going to see how over Randy is and how much heat Jinder has. I think that is actually going to transfer over to Jinder the way that the WWE creative wants it to. Unlike the whole Carmella and James Ellsworth stealing the briefcase and them hoping that our anger transfers over to those characters, I don't think that's going to work. But this in particular, I think, does, because you see how over Randy is and you see how much heat Jinder has here. It really just goes to show, how much hatred there is towards Jinder. And lately, I think everyone has accepted the fact that Jinder is our champion, and they see, him being a big badass heel for the future. So his build has been done somewhat right. But if you think about it, man, think about it this way: if you're a little kid at this show and you're the biggest Randy Orton fan, you're from Randy Orton's hometown, you cannot wait to see him live, and then you go on to watch Jinder pin your favorite wrestler of all time in person, you're gonna hate Jinder for the rest of your life. So that, I think, actually works. So I think this booking decision right here actually did work in the WWE's favor, but we'll go into the review and we'll let you guys make your decisions off of that. Obviously a huge reaction for Randy as he comes out. This crowd is going to be fully into this match, and that'll help elevate it. It kind of woke this crowd up after them taking a complete beating from the start of this show. So we start with the actual match. Before the match even starts, though, we get huge RKO chants. Randy then comes out hot from the get-go. He just starts beating the shit out of Jinder. He throws Jinder into the pose, bounces back, and then nearly hits an RKO right off the bat onto Jinder, but he slips out of it. Jinder stands on the outside as USA chants erupt in this crowd. Randy then slithers back and forth in the ring just like he is, the apex predator. He's keeping an eye on Jinder the whole time. As Jinder gets back into the ring, though, Randy dives on top of him, taking him to the mat. Then he throws Jinder onto the top rope, chest first. Randy then starts stopping Jinder out on the ground. Then Orton delivers a shoulder tackle, then a clothesline to Jinder, sending him to the outside. Randy just really doing his whole set of offense here, really fucking Jinder up from the get-go. This crowd is super into it, really loves seeing their hometown hero kicking the heel's ass. He then walks towards the Singh brothers, and they start cowering away in fear. So obviously, right off the bat, teasing a little bit of an interaction between Orton and the Singh brothers from the get-go. Jinder is then slammed into the announcer table by Randy, then thrown back into the ring. Randy has been eliminating any breathing room for Jinder at this point. He cannot get any offense going. Orton nearly gets the DDT on the ropes, but Jinder is able to counter and throw Randy to the outside finally. Randy, at this point, when he hits to the outside, he starts selling the knee, and Jinder identifies it immediately. He starts attacking the injured leg, which was a common spot that they did in a lot of these matches tonight. It was always the injured leg that people were going for. I think that happened in the past 3 matches that we had. So Both guys then start brawling on the outside. Jinder throws Randy into the steel steps, and then Jinder continues to attack the left leg of Orton as they head back into the ring. Jinder then delivers some stiff shots to Randy in the corner. Those look pretty bad. He then starts delivering a series of knee stops to Randy's throat. They head to the outside again, and Randy throws Jinder spine first into the barricade right in front of Bob Orton and the others on the sideline. Randy tries to throw Jinder into the desk again, but no go. Jinder reverses it and throws Randy knee first into the top of the announce table. The announcers mentioned the ref being very lenient with the count and saying that they should be because it's a championship match, but yet that logic wasn't followed in that Usos New Day match, but whatever, oh well. I guess we're not supposed to think about that. Randy and Jinder are back in the ring at this point, and then Randy is obviously really still affected by that left knee injury. Orton is still able to deliver a suplex to Jinder despite the injury, however. Again, these guys head to the outside of the ring again, which is where a majority of this match take place. It was basically all focusing on Orton's knee and then battling on the outside of the ring as much as possible and in front of those legends as much as possible. So nothing really too impressive yet, but the crowd is still into it. Then Jinder gets Randy back into the ring. He goes for a figure four onto Randy Orton, staring down Bob Orton and Ric Flair in the front row as he's doing it. Orton is obviously struggling, with the knee injury. Orton is then eventually able to reverse the pressure by flipping over, and then Jinder grabs the rope to break the hold. We get "Let's Go Randy" chants as Jinder stops down Orton in the corner. Jinder continues to work Randy's knee until he's able to reverse it into a roll-up on Jinder and get a near fall. Jinder goes for a suplex as he talks shit to Bob Orton on the outside, so he's doing his moves and he's just, talking shit to the legends on the outside. Randy's able to get out of it, though. He's still hobbling on his knee. Orton then gets Jinder onto the top rope, and now he hits the superplex, which is his dad's famous move. Orton goes for a pin, but Jinder kicks out again. Both of these guys start trading shots back and forth in the middle of the ring. Then Randy hits a few clotheslines into a power slam, finally retaking momentum. He then sets up for that DDT off the apron and finally hits it. This is where I'm starting to wonder where the Singh brothers are, because Randy's really starting to get the momentum here. He's really starting, to look like he's about to hit the RKO, which he does. He starts setting up for it, starts revving up, hitting the mat with his fist, getting the crowd really into it. Jinder then stands up. He eats the RKO. 1, 2, the ref stops, and the Singh brothers have taken Jinder's foot and placed it onto the bottom rope at the last second, breaking the count. Randy gets up, he starts arguing with the ref, and Mike Chioda, which is the ref, banishes the Singh brothers from the match from now on. So the Singh brothers are obviously, distraught from this, they're pissed off, and as they're leaving, they're staring down Bob Orton on the outside. Eventually, they turn around, grab Bob Orton, and Randy comes out of the ring and starts killing the Singh brothers. He just picks them up, tosses them anywhere he wants, the timekeeper's area, the tables, just completely destroying them. Similar to how he did it on Backlash, just throwing them around like rag dolls, just completely destroying these guys. This is where I actually like the older guys getting involved in this match, because it's the Singh brothers grab Randy Orton's dad, and this is Father's Day, right? And you see his son come out there and save his dad. That's obviously a story that anyone can get behind, whether it's wrestling or not, right? So I think that was actually booked correctly, and I actually like that whole element to it. It made me actually get invested into Randy Orton, who I've struggled to get behind for a while now. Orton then jumps onto one table, and then he has one of the Singh brothers on the other table. He jumps from one table onto the other, grabs the Singh brother, and then RKO's him through the table. Both of them go crashing through it. Huge spot here, totally badass. And then Randy gets up after that huge table spot, gets back into the ring. Jinder then just grabs him from behind, hits the Colossus, and it's GG. Jinder wins. So obviously, we all knew where this was going. Randy wasn't going to win in his hometown, and, they set up this whole losing in front of your father on Father's Day in your hometown for a reason. They want to get that heat from all of that stuff transferred over to Jinder, and I do think that it worked in this case. It doesn't work all the time, but I think it did work in this case. Mainly because Jinder needed a win, and he needed to win this match in particular to be a really legitimate champion. Look, he beat Randy originally to get the belt. He really hasn't had many other matches since then, other than the random match on SmackDown. So he really needed to beat Randy here and become accepted as the future champion from now on. Now he just needs to get some more wins and go on to his next feud. So I'm glad he was able to get over Randy Orton, and we can move on from that. Overall, though, man, this match really wasn't that great. It was a typical Randy and Jinder match here. No really big spots other than the typical stuff you'd see maybe on SmackDown and outside of those table spots with the Singh brothers. But overall, man, the rest of the match was pretty cookie cutter. Like I said, I did like how the Legends got involved here and Randy having to save his dad. That was a cool spot. But other than that, man, the rest of the match was pretty lackluster. I am very interested to see where they go from Jinder from here. Obviously, I'm really excited to see what his next match is now that Randy Orton is out of the way. But speaking of Orton, after taking this loss, I'm hoping that they keep him off TV for a little bit. Hopefully they change him up. Me personally, I'd love to see heel Randy Orton again, but I don't really think that's going to happen considering they just switched him back to babyface. So if he is on SmackDown this week, I'll be shocked, but I'm hoping that they do keep him off TV. Match number 5 tonight. This is where we finally get the answer for Breezango. So it's going to be Breezango versus we don't know yet. Like I said earlier, man, I'm glad to see Breezango on this card, kind of out of nowhere. Originally, I didn't think they were going to be on this pay-per-view at all, so glad to see them get some, get a spot on this show, especially because they've really been getting over themselves on SmackDown with the Fashion Files stuff and just the general comedy stuff that they've been doing. However, I'm going to say this, man. I feel bad for this crowd because they have taken a beating tonight, and this match in particular was also pretty shitty. So as soon as Breezango comes out to the ring, I'm thinking, oh, maybe they'll, do a promo here and really build up who is going to be the attackers, right? We got that whole, videotape where their team that they're going to fight tonight was kind of shrouded in blackness and their voices were distorted, so we don't know who it's going to be. So Breezango gets to the ring, and then all of a sudden we hear the Ascension's music, so it kind of just fell flat for me, man. I was just basically like, okay, well, I guess it's the Ascension. I guess that's cool. They didn't get any promos. The Ascension didn't. Breezango didn't. They just went out there and they had a shitty match that you basically see probably on Main Event. That's what this felt like. It felt like the Main Event match. Not the main event, but the show Main Event, if you know what I'm saying. Originally I'm thinking, okay, well, the Ascension are coming out. Maybe this will actually start a push for the Ascension. Maybe they'll get a win and we can start a feud. Well, no, that doesn't happen. Look, I'm not going to break down this match very hard. I mean, like I said, it was a pretty typical cookie-cutter match here. It was pretty much nothing, to be honest. No real reason to cover this super in-depth. Fandango does get a nice series of chops to Connor. He bounces off the ropes, delivers a nice spinning kick. Fandango is then slammed to the mat with a spine buster for a near fall. Connor is then knocked from the top rope and by Breeze after tagging in Victor. Fandango then out of nowhere gets a roll-up on Victor and then they just win. So it was pretty much a meaningless random match. Really weird that they got zero promo time here to answer, that they were in fact the guys behind the attack. No one is going to remember this match at all. It was completely filler, and it was used as a buffer between the Money in the Bank main event tonight and that championship match that we just had, which is what WWE likes to do. They like to book things with a hot match, then a match to let everyone kind of cool down, then a hot match, then another buffer match, then a hot match. That's kind of how they do it. So this basically was used at that, and it kind of felt out of place and nowhere. However, what I am thinking, though, is that the Ascension are going to turn out to not be those guys that we saw on the tape. I have a feeling that it's actually going to be American Alpha, and I'm thinking that American Alpha might just come back as heels. We will see. I don't know. Obviously, those questions can only be answered on SmackDown, but I'm really hoping that they do answer towards this because this felt out of nowhere, and it felt kind of pointless. So hopefully it's the start of something and not the end of something. Alright guys, so we head into our main event, which is going to be that men's Money in the Bank ladder match between Dolph Ziggler, Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, and of course, Shinsuke Nakamura. Legendary lineup, but who is going to walk away with that briefcase? My guess last week was Baron Corbin. After tonight, after watching all of these matches, I'm starting to hope to God that it isn't him because right now we're heading towards a pretty boring ending to this show if Baron Corbin is in fact the winner of tonight's Money in the Bank ladder match. Originally I'm thinking, of course these guys are going to put on a great match, but Baron Corbin is just a boring pick, even if it makes the most sense. At this point, I was really, really hoping Sami Zayn would be would actually win this, man. He would be the biggest surprise to everyone, and it may actually redeem this pay-per-view if we end the show with Sami Zayn at the top of that ladder holding that briefcase. He has been used as a stepping stone by a lot of guys. He really hasn't had his moment in the sun since coming to the main roster. And obviously this pay-per-view hasn't been horrible. I mean, it's been tolerable. I was entertained by it. Like I said, I liked all of the matches for the most part, even though the opening really soured me on the rest of it. So going into this match, I'm really hoping that these guys can redeem it. And I'm hoping that Baron Corbin isn't the one that's going to pull down that briefcase in the end, because I just wanted something to kind of shock us all and get us excited going into SmackDown this Tuesday, but we'll see what happens, man. So the match starts. AJ comes out to a huge reaction, as always, obviously. Then it's Dolph, then Sami, who also has a big reaction. Like I said, man, he is the biggest underdog in this match, so winning for him would be a nice surprise. Definitely rooting for him tonight. KO comes out next, the man who I think has the lowest shot at winning this, because obviously he is the U.S. title holder. And basically him getting the briefcase would make zero sense. They are going to have him hold the briefcase and the U.S. title at the same time. That makes no sense. So he kind of feels like a wasted spot in this match, even though he is great. Shinsuke comes out, and he has one of the loudest pops. But as he's coming out, Baron Corbin attacks Shinsuke Nakamura right as he's at the top of the ring, so we barely even get to hear Shinsuke's epic music. Baron Corbin puts an end to that immediately. He grabs a ladder, hits Shinsuke repeatedly, then he grabs a camera from one of the cameramen and starts attacking Shinsuke with that as well. The refs come out, they try to stop him, and Baron Corbin just heads to the ring. Nakamura, meanwhile, is being attended to at the top of the ramp by medical personnel, so obviously, the story going into this immediately is that Nakamura is not going to be in this match. So, Baron gets into the ring. He starts screaming for them to ring the bell. There's lots of discussion from this refs, but they do eventually ring it. All five guys start brawling immediately, and then they head to the outside. KO is attacking Dolph and Sami at the same time, throwing Dolph into a nearby ladder, then trading shots with Sami and Dolph. Baron, meanwhile, is lurking. He comes from behind and attacks Sami, throwing him into the barricade. They show a shot of Shinsuke at this point, and he's limping off, being helped to the locker room with the doctors, so it's not looking good for him, looking like he's not going to appear in this match tonight. Sami then hits his signature flip to the outside over the top rope onto Kevin Owens. AJ is then getting attacked by Dolph and Baron at the same time on the other side of the ring, so they're kind of teaming up like they did on SmackDown Live. Baron grabs the ladder, and him and Ziggler run over Styles with it. However, this partnership does not last long. Corbin slaps Ziggler and knocks him out right after this. Ziggler then gets up and hits a super kick out of nowhere onto Corbin, and he starts setting up a ladder, but Sami takes him out. Then Sami starts setting up the ladder, but KO grabs the ladder and stops him. This was kind of a motif in this match. Instead of them setting up a ladder and having one guy slowly crawl up as he waits for someone to come interrupt him, instead they just decided, hey, we're not even going to get a ladder set up at all for a majority of this match, which, me personally, I actually find that a lot more believable than having someone slowly climb up the ladder like a moron and then wait for their opponent to come stop them. This was a lot better because they just basically didn't set up a ladder until towards the end, which eventually things started going crazy, but we'll get there. Anyway, eventually we get this crazy spot where Dolph is on the apron. Corbin catches him from the outside and hits the deep six. And as he's doing the deep six, Ziggler hits a cameraman. I don't know if anyone else saw this, but the camera guy was getting kind of a little involved here, obviously in the wrong spot for this, and the deep six is hit to the outside. We start getting AJ Styles chants as AJ grabs the ladder, but KO hits a super kick on him, stopping all of his momentum. KO then uses that ladder as a battering ram, hitting all other four competitors with it. AJ and Kevin start exchanging shots. Still, no ladder set up at all so far. AJ teases a Styles clash, but KO sends him over the top. And then KO starts setting up a ladder, but Sami comes in and cuts him off, striking him down in the corner. So again, not being able to get that ladder set up is a huge repeating thing in this match. KO then heads up to the top rope as he looks down on AJ and Dolph, but Sami grabs KO off the top and throws him into the ladder, flipping him over. Holy shit moment, the ladder completely crumples. This ladder is completely fucked. As soon as KO hit it, this thing was just demolished, man. It was like a Coke can being smashed. That's what it looked like. Sammy then tries to set up the broken ladder, but it's completely done for. He has to go get a new one. He finally gets another one, starts setting it up, but again, someone comes in to stop him, and that's Dolph. Dolph sets up the ladder in the corner and throws Sammy spine first into it. Dolph finally gets the ladder up, and he is finally the first one to start climbing in this match. Sami Zayn, however, recovers and goes up and grabs Dolph off of the ladder and hits Sammy with a drop kick. Sammy dodges a super kick and then lands a blue thunder bomb onto Ziggler. Sammy then slowly starts climbing, which is, I don't like it, but at least Sammy was actually hurt, so it made sense that he was climbing slowly. Corbin then enters and starts slamming his head into the ladder. Sami Zayn's head, I should say. AJ Styles comes in and starts attacking Baron. Styles hits a flying forearm after chopping down Corbin. We get AJ Styles' chance, of course, as he starts to climb to the top. Corbin climbs to the other side of the ladder as AJ is on the other side, and they're both reaching for the case, but can't quite get it. They attack each other at the top. Dolph then comes out of nowhere. He climbs up on Corbin's side and climbs over Corbin, and he goes over the top of him. Ziggler grabs the case, but Corbin then throws him off. Baron starts climbing, and everyone is booing at this point because I think everyone in this crowd probably felt like Baron Corbin was going to walk away with this briefcase, so they were preemptively booing already as soon as Baron even touched the ladder. Then Dolph hits the zigzag out of nowhere onto Corbin from the ladder, which was pretty cool. Eventually, Styles, Ziggler, and Zayn are all on the ladder fighting each other off. AJ is the first to fall. Then, oh my god, this was an awesome spot. Sami Zayn hits a powerbomb to Ziggler off the top of the ladder. Huge holy shit moment here. Crazy spot. Ziggler's neck nearly hits the bottom rope as he's coming down. Super dangerous. Crazy fucking spot. Definitely go check this out because that was insane, man. Sammy and KO start going at it now. KO teases that powerbomb on the apron that he always does, but Sammy stops it by grabbing onto the ropes. Sammy then hits a suplex to KO on the apron, and Sammy crawls to the ladder. He's slowly climbing as we hear the Olay chants erupt in the building. Obviously, people are very behind Sammy here. They want to see the underdog win. He's dragging himself to the top, but AJ comes out of nowhere and hits a phenomenal forearm onto Sammy while he's on the ladder from the top rope. This was awesome. AJ came out of nowhere, just came flying in with the elbow and knocked Sammy completely off the ladder. Very cool spot. Baron then grabs AJ and throws him over the tables onto the outside. Baron then sets up a ladder between the top of the steel steps and one of the tables, looking to put AJ through it. AJ then reverses, runs the apron, comes and hits Baron with a forearm, but Corbin catches him and choke slams AJ through that ladder that he just set up. Baron gets back into the ring. He's in the corner now, and Sammy hits the haluva kick out of nowhere. Baron is out cold. Everyone is down. Sammy is the only one up. Sammy starts climbing. The crowd is going crazy. They're giving us the Olay chants. Sammy is reaching for the briefcase, and then KO comes in and grabs his leg, kicks him in the nuts. Obviously, this is a no DQ match, so low blows are acceptable. KO is now heading to the top. He's grabbing the case, but AJ is at his feet. AJ pulls KO down from the top and trades shots with KO. KO then sets up to do the powerbomb. Sets up to powerbomb AJ through the ladder that Baron set up previously, but AJ reverses it and throws KO into that ladder. KO hits this ladder, and this ladder is apparently indestructible. It's not like the one that they had in the ring because this ladder did not break at all. KO just hits it and bounces off. This is where everyone thinks that KO may have been injured. There were reports after the match that KO had to be helped out of the ring by refs after the show went off the air, so not really sure, no confirmation on that yet, but people are speculating that this may be the cause of a Kevin Owens injury. I guess we will find out on SmackDown or from breaking news later on this week. AJ is now left alone in the ring. He's eyeing the briefcase. He climbs to the top, but Dolph, of course, comes in, grabs the ladder, but AJ still holds on to the briefcase, and now Dolph removes the ladder, and AJ is hanging above the ring, holding on to the briefcase. Nothing underneath him. He is just holding on to it with everything he has. Now, you would think, well, maybe AJ should try and get the ladder here, or get the briefcase here, but unfortunately, he doesn't. He falls from the top in dramatic fashion, which was a crazy fucking spot. So glad that he didn't get hurt here, because if AJ Styles got hurt, man, that would completely derail SmackDown. So I'm glad he didn't get hurt here, and it was a pretty dramatic spot, so go check that out. Baron then grabs the ladder and starts setting it up. And as he's setting this up, as everyone else is laid out, All of a sudden, we hear Shinsuke's music. He's fucking back. Baron looks to the ring. He's thinking, oh shit, I already took him out. Why is he back? He looks super worried. Baron then grabs the ladder, waiting for Shinsuke to come in. Shinsuke's running in. Baron throws the ladder at Shinsuke, but he dodges it. Everyone is cheering for Shinsuke here. It is so loud. The crowd is super hype about this. Everyone is singing along to his theme song. Nakamura comes into the ring, and he just goes bananas, man. He starts fucking up Baron. I got chills from this, man. Epic booking on this right here. Good job by the WWE because this was awesome. Shinsuke just hits a knee to Baron. Hits a knee to Baron's midsection. Then he hits the Kinshasa on the outside. Dolph comes at Nakamura then, but he hits the knee from the top rope onto Ziggler. Then Nakamura hits another Kinshasa to Dolph. He's just completely going off, man. This is exactly how Nakamura needs to be booked. He needs to come in and just kick everyone's ass, and that's exactly what he did right here. He then hits a reverse exploder, then a Kinshasa to Sammy. Shinsuke is just going the fuck off right now. Holy shit, is awesome. Nakamura chants are erupting in St. Louis. Shinsuke tries to bring in a ladder, but KO is holding on to it with all of his might. Nakamura just says whatever, and he goes and hits a Kinshasa to him too. It was like Oprah, man. You get a Kinshasa, you get a Kinshasa, you get one, and you get one. That's what this was like, man. Nakamura's just kicking everyone in the face. Fucking awesome. Nakamura then gets a ladder set up in the middle, and then everyone's saying, oh shit, is he really going to do it? Man, he just took out every single one of the competitors with his finishing move. Is he really about to get to the top and take this briefcase like we saw on SmackDown? So as he's climbing, man, all of a sudden, AJ Styles appears out of nowhere on the other side of the ladder. We get the most epic fucking face-off that we've seen in WWE in a long time. Obviously, last week on Raw was pretty cool between Brock and Samoa Joe. But this right here, man, this has a history to it. This is a legendary matchup. This is a epic rematch in the waiting here. And when we get these two facing off, we get immediate yes chants from this crowd. This is an old rivalry, and it just emerged in front of everyone's eyes. They move the ladder. Basically, they're on the ladder. They both get off. They both grab the ladder and move it to the side. They get in the middle, and they stare each other down. This is when... Oh, man, this got me emotional, man. I wanted to see this right now. They didn't give a fuck about the ladder. They didn't give a fuck about the briefcase. They're looking at each other with the most vicious eyes you could ever have, and they want to fucking fight. And that is awesome. I cannot wait to see this match because obviously that is what this is building up to. Anyway, both start trading shots immediately, punching each other back and forth. Nakamura then gets AJ in a chokehold. Then he hits an exploder again onto AJ. Nakamura then revs up for another Kinshasa, but AJ comes in and hits him with a phenomenal forearm mid-stride as Nakamura's running at him to hit him with the knee. We get "This is awesome" chants erupt. Fuck, man. I'm thinking at this point, what a match, dude. This has been booked so well. So many great spots in this match. So many little moments that all add up to build one epic match. And that is what we got. So that was really cool, man. And the whole AJ Nakamura parts, man, holy shit. It was so good. You have to go back and check this out. Anyway, AJ sets up a ladder at this point. He starts climbing, but Nakamura also climbs on the other side. Both men are at the top, fighting each other off, punching each other. We get a really cool battling chant, AJ Styles, Nakamura battling chant here from the crowd. Very cool, very timely. As they are both grabbing for the briefcase, though, guess who comes in and knocks them out? James Ellsworth. No, I'm kidding. Not James Ellsworth. It's Baron Corbin. And he pushes the ladder down. Baron then grabs the ladder, heads to the top. No one is around. And Baron Corbin grabs the briefcase. He is your men's Money in the Bank ladder match winner. My thoughts here, well, we all saw that coming. We knew Baron was going to win this, or at least I did. I thought this match, though, was booked perfect, man. This was done so well, guys. These six men put on a fucking show for us. This was a great match to end with, despite Baron kind of being a boring choice and having him win it. The Nakamura AJ segments were so fucking good in this, man. It just made me realize how much I want to see that match. Like I said earlier, I'm really glad that they didn't do that whole slowly climb to the top of the ladder thing. Instead, they just took forever to actually set a ladder up, which works way better. And then when someone did set a ladder up, they didn't take their time getting to the top. Instead, they had someone come in immediately and stop them, which is exactly what you need to do in a ladder match to make it believable. Obviously, I think Baron winning makes sense, and I think he's going to hold on to the briefcase for a very long time here. This is what Baron is going to use to elevate himself to that next tier of superstar. We're obviously going to see tons of teases out of him. We're going to see tons of mentions of him being the Money in the Bank briefcase winner. So I think it is going to help Baron in the long run, even though I think right now, currently, Baron is probably the most boring choice that they could have gone with. I don't think AJ and Nakamura need that briefcase, even though I would have loved to see him, with it. But I think that Sami Zayn, I think if they would have went with that would have left everyone going home really happy. And I think it really could have made this pay-per-view end on a much better note than it started with. And like I said, man, overall thoughts on this pay-per-view, I really love the Money in the Bank pay-per-view every year. I really do. This pay-per-view in particular was super entertaining. When it was over, I really couldn't believe it. Time felt like it flew by. But having said that, the ending to that women's Money in the Bank match just completely soured me on this pay-per-view from the get-go, and it just kind of stained the whole thing for me. It was hard for me to get actually excited from that point on until about the end, until the main event when the men's match happened. All I could really think was I cannot believe that they just had a man win the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. That's all I could think of at that point. We did have some really great matches on this show. The tag match was really good, even though we had a shitty fucking finish. I hate that cop-out finish. It's just a bad way to treat fans who, spend time getting invested into all those near falls and then just rob us of a good finish. That sucks. I hate when that happens. It doesn't matter who is wrestling. I hate those types of finishes. The Breezango Ascension match was completely random and pointless. Really worthless match to put on this card out of nowhere. I get why they did it, but it didn't help this pay-per-view at all. I love that Breezango got on the card, but this whole thing just did not make sense. Not to mention the Ascension just lost again. So, if you were going to actually do this right, you should have had the Ascension win and get them a feud going with Breezango. That's something that everyone could get behind, right? Because Breezango is the babyface here, and Ascension is basically missing. They've been missing since they came to the main roster a few years ago. They don't do anything with those teams. They're basically just Bray Wyatt in a tag team. They lose all the time, and except Bray Wyatt actually gets on TV, Ascension doesn't do anything. So that whole match was very weird to have on this show, and I'm not sure why they did it. The Lana match, again, really sloppy. I really wanted Lana to come in and have an amazing match and shock the world. I thought that would have been really cool, but alas, she just isn't quite ready yet, guys. You can tell she still has some work to do in the ring, and she really has the look and she has the athleticism to improve. So I think this match did show her potential, but this match in particular wasn't anything good. It wasn't anything to write home about. It was just a match, and I'm glad that Naomi was able to retain, and I'm excited to see where they go with Lana in the future. The whole Maria Kanellis, Mike Kanellis segment was fucking out of nowhere. I have no clue who they are. They look like Miz and Maurice knockoffs. And me personally, I'd rather just have Miz and Maurice. I can tell these guys are going to be completely cringeworthy, and that's obviously what the WWE is going for with these characters. So I guess we'll see what their deal is when we get to SmackDown. But tonight, man, this just seemed really out of place and out of nowhere and left everyone in the stadium and at home scratching their heads. The tag match tonight was good, like I said. I don't like the ending, despite it kind of fitting the Usos' personas. The New Day were going to win this match if the Usos didn't leave, so it did make sense. It just sucks that we had to get so invested into the match, believing all those near falls and getting excited for it, and then just get robbed of a true ending. I hate when that happens. It sucks, but I guess I get it. The final match, though, guys, man, it was fucking great. The men brought the house down with that Money in the Bank ladder match. Like I said, I loved how they booked this match. It was pure perfection. I don't really mind Baron winning, even though he is super boring, but let's be real, guys. Sami winning that, or even AJ or Shinsuke, would have led to the biggest pop of the night outside of Orton. Obviously, him being a hometown guy, that's going to be hard to surpass, but if Sami would have won that, I think the crowd would have gone insane, and I think it really could have helped Sami in the long run. Baron is kind of doing his own thing, looking like a badass and dominating people on SmackDown. I don't necessarily think that he actually needs the briefcase, but it's obviously going to help him in the long run because it's going to give him more character, and he's really going to be able to brag about being the winner. I think what sucks is that both of the Money in the Bank matches kind of ended on a flat note and left people upset. I think that's what really sucks here. I was kind of hoping that one of these matches would end with the crowd going home happy, you know, having a babyface get that briefcase, but we didn't get that at all tonight. You know, Usos win in a shitty way. Baron wins by taking out two of the biggest names in wrestling in AJ and Shinsuke. Carmella and shitty James Ellsworth win by ruining the first ever Women's Money in the Bank match. Orton losing in his hometown. No one outside of Breezango and Naomi won as babyfaces tonight. And if you look at all the titles and everything out there, only one babyface has a title, and that is Naomi. Everything else, I guess you could say Brock Lesnar is kind of a mix between a heel and a babyface right now, but other than that, man, Naomi is the only true babyface that has a title right now. So very weird that no one else has one, and all heels are dominating everything at this point. Orton losing in his hometown, obviously that was no surprise. You know, I don't think anyone thought that Randy was going to be getting the title back tonight. I do think that the WWE booking here actually worked. I think the heat will transfer to Jinder the way that they want. You know, even though I'm critical of Orton lately, I actually found myself rooting for him in this match after the Singh brothers kind of attacked his dad. There's just something about that makes you want to root for him in that moment. So I definitely was at that point. And Jinder getting the win, I mean, it just makes everyone even more pissed, so it gets more heat onto him. So I think that match actually worked for me, despite it being kind of just an okay match in the end. Either way, you know, the ladder match at the end was just fantastic, man. All of these guys did some amazing spots. I really enjoyed this match. Go back and check this one out. It is definitely the one to watch if you're only going to watch one from this card or from this pay-per-view. This is the one to watch from this card. I knew when Shinsuke got attacked at the beginning that he was probably going to come back, but the return still worked for me. I still popped. I still got hype about it. And that moment where he comes out, dodges the ladder, gets into the ring, and starts kicking everyone's ass, and the entire crowd is singing his theme song, man. Just complete chills, dude. It's so good. Such a good moment right there. Definitely something to go back and watch. Another notable spot, you know, where AJ is hanging from the briefcase above the ring. That was just so epic, man. Really dangerous, and glad that he's not hurt, but that was such an epic, it was cool visual to see that. The spots on the ladder with KO and Corbin and AJ were also really good. I highly, highly recommend this match. It has tons of great, brilliant moments that show off the skill of all six men. Hopefully KO is not hurt, but we'll find out shortly, I'm sure. Overall, though, guys, I think this pay-per-view itself was decent. The winners and how they did that women's match, though, was just fucking horrible and really soured me on the whole pay-per-view going forward. I think it was really, really stupid to waste such a historic moment like that on James Ellsworth. You know, even though I get the Ellsworth ending, I get that's how they get the cheap heat. It's how wrestling storylines work. My problem is that their story going into this match was how historic and groundbreaking it was going to be. You would think that they would actually let the first women's Money in the Bank match actually be won by, I don't know, a woman. You know, this isn't a legendary match anymore because of how they treated it. Instead, it's just catering to those stupid, you know, top 50 moments that they do on the network. That's what this ending felt like, man. It's something that we're going to see on one of those top 50 wacky finishes that they always do on the WWE network. That's what that felt like this was catering to. It wasn't to, you know, the people who actually wanted to see a great legendary match. So, very disappointed in the ending to that, man. And it's just, it really soured me on the entire pay-per-view. I think the biggest question coming out of this show now, though, is that we have two heels vying for this title. We have Jinder, who is a heel and has the title, and we have Baron Corbin with the briefcase, who is obviously going to be going after Jinder because he has the briefcase and Jinder has the title. So are we actually going to have a heel versus heel match? A Baron Corbin versus Jinder match does not get me excited at all. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds pretty fucking boring. So are they going to drop the title to a face and then have Baron challenge him later on? I don't know. Obviously, Baron, I don't think he's going to be challenging anytime soon. I think he's going to ride out this briefcase as long as possible. So who will Jinder face at the next pay-per-view, which I believe is going to be SummerSlam, if that's still a mixed brand pay-per-view? You know, is it going to be Cena? Is it going to be AJ? Maybe Nakamura? Obviously, we're going to know more starting tomorrow when Roman makes his announcement about what his SummerSlam plans are going to be. So if he ends up challenging Cena, then that takes two people out of the equation right there. So, you know, we will see where they go with Jinder. I don't think that they're going to do a heel versus heel anytime soon. So Baron will hold on to this briefcase for a while. I think the same goes for Carmella, depending on what they do on SmackDown. If they actually redo the Money in the Bank ladder match and redo this whole thing, I don't know how I feel about that, man. We'll see what happens on Tuesday, but that was Money in the Bank 2017, guys. Very long show today, very long review. Overall, I like the pay-per-view, but the finishes for most of these matches were completely fucking horrible, and I do not agree with what they did with the women's Money in the Bank match. Like I said, I'm going to say it again. If you're going to build up a match to be this historic moment and really, make us excited that we're seeing something for the first time ever, please don't ruin it by having James fucking Ellsworth, the shittiest fucking person on TV, interrupt in this match and ruin it for all the women. You know that these women, even though they had to go through with this and they're going to pretend like they agree with it, you know deep down that girls like Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, Sasha, all of them are thinking in their head, wow, I cannot believe that they had to have James Ellsworth interrupt in this historic match. It's fucking gross. I hate it. Fuck James Ellsworth and fuck that match. So, anyway, guys, I am Zach Stevens. Thank you so much for checking out the Royal Ramble podcast. Again, you can always check us out on Twitter at Ramble_cast. Please, please, please subscribe to our YouTube page. That's where you're going to find our highest quality episodes, and that's where you're going to get the episodes as quick as possible. We're also on Podbean. Check us out over there at royalrambleradio.podbean.com. Of course, you can always download the Podbean app and download our shows on the go. And we're on SoundCloud. Check us out over there at soundcloud.com/royal-ramble-radio. And if you ever have any questions, man, you want to send in some comments to the show, leave some comments below on the video, or you can send them in to royalrambleradio@gmail.com. So again, guys, I am Zach Stevens. That has been the Royal Ramble podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I am out. Peace.